Well, good morning. It's Derby Day finally here on POMME to TERRE. Sunday, May 16th. Got another great turnout for this event. Well over 115 boats or so, and this little lake's going to fish small, so I made it down a little bit yesterday afternoon and got some practice in, and as I kind of suspected, the pattern I was on the last week or two is starting to fade rather quickly. So tried some new things yesterday that didn't work very well, so I'm going to stick with this pattern for a little bit this morning, and if it's dead, I'm going to make a game plan change and probably run way up the river, because there's so many boats here the last couple of days that I'm going to take advantage of the river conditions and go way up the river somewhere and get away from the crowds a little bit and make sure I can bring in a limit. So anyway, great to see the turnout. Good job, Solo Pro. Great to see all these anglers out here, and we're getting ready to start the day. Not a keeper, but that's too funny. That may be the deal. They seem to have moved out deeper, but then maybe not too far. That may be why I didn't find them all yesterday. I kept fishing too shallow. So put a heavier weight on, get down a little bit deeper, and see if that doesn't do the trick. All right, it's 9:30. Stay down here on the lower end as long as I can stand it. I got 3 in the box, no giants, you know, 14, 15 inchers. That pattern in the backs of the pockets on the buck bushes is gone. They're pulled out. So the 3 I caught have all been out deeper on the same wacky worm. Just gotta let it sink a little slower. I'm gonna run up the river. There's just boats everywhere, and so I can get up the river and get away from them a little bit. That'll help. But I've got plenty of time left, but I need to start doing a little bit better. Maybe. More POMME keeper. cool if it was a big one. But it's not. There we go. There we go. Finally. Buzzard come through finally. Well, it's 3:30. I'm back at weigh-in. Another rough day. Daggone it. Fish moved out of the backs of the pockets. Tried fishing a lot of deeper secondary points where they might have moved to. That didn't work very good. So finally ended up going up the river just to get away from the crowds and trying to find some fish there. I think I ended up calling 3 up in the river, but we're talking ounces. So small POMME limit. I'm not going to complain. I'll take it. You know what? Not near as good as the last 2 weekends, but that's what good fishermen do. They adjust. So still got a lot more learning to do, but still enjoyed it. Had a good day, and we'll see where we end up with. Worst case scenario is I got a small limit, so it could be worse. Okay, that wraps up POMME. Small limit. I'm a little bit bummed. I had one dead fish, and I don't know what happened. I culled with that buzzbait fish towards the end of the day, and they were all fine, but something happened in the last hour or so, dadgummit. I ended up having one of them that I caught early die, so had a total weight of 9.19, be a 1 pound penalty for that dead fish. Didn't think about it. Water temperature 62 degrees. I wasn't that worried about it, but I guess I probably should have brought some ice and tried to keep them cooler, but I'll do better next time. But anyway, it's a 5 fish limit on a tough day, so move on to Stockton next, and probably need to quit practicing weeks ahead of time, because the last 2 or 3 times I've done that now, the pattern changes so much this time of year that I end up fishing old patterns. And I did make some adjustments this time that helped a little bit, but you know, and I caught probably 7 or 8 keepers at least, if not more. But I was culling by ounces, so it didn't do me a whole lot of good. Anyway, lessons learned, and we'll move on to Stockton next. Thanks for watching, everyone. Well, we wrapped up POMME to TERRE. Had a 5 fish limit. 9.19. Unfortunately, I had one that died on me in the last hour of the day, so that one hurts. It's going to be a 1 pound penalty, so that's going to drop me down to 8. And on this lake, every ounce counts. So I don't know what happened there, but overall, caught 7 or 8 keepers today. As I kind of suspected from last weekend, the fish had changed. They'd pulled out of the pockets like they'd been in, at least the ones that I'd been catching anyway, and they moved out deeper somewhere. And so not sure what kind of footage I'm going to have for this tournament. I had problems with both my GoPros. I'll check what footage I've got available and try and put something together here for sure. So Overall, a rough event, but I got a limit. You know, it could always be worse, so can't complain when you got a limit in. So just trying to think, you know, lessons learned. The fish kills bothered me. You know, that gamut, 62-degree water, I really wasn't anticipating keeping fish alive was going to be an issue, but you know, maybe I should have brought some ice or done something a little bit different, but I'm definitely going to have to plan for that at stock tier coming up. So again, I think it was one of those ones that I caught early in the day and ended up being 9 hours in the live well. Probably didn't help anything. So one thing I did find in the live well is this little pink Cinco. So one of the fish puked that thing up. I don't know if that was the one that died or somebody else or not, but there's a couple ounces there. You could at least hang on to it till after weigh-in. But anyway, neat little lake. POMME de TERRE is just a fun little lake to fish. It fishes pretty small. Made a last-minute decision to run up the Lindley. You know, I ended up scratching out a small limit on the main lake. You know, picked up 3 down by the dam, and then picked up 2 more on a little wind-blown bluff end bank up the Lindley arm. And then after that, I decided I'd run way up the Lindley and see if I could find some bigger fish up in the river away from the crowds. And I did end up culling 3 fish up there in the river, but again, trading 13 3/4 inch fish for 13 1/2, so it wasn't a whole lot. I did catch the one buzzbait fish at the end of the day, my one good one for the day, and man, I thought, okay, here we go. Maybe I can round out the day with a buzzbait bite in that dirtier water, but that was it, one and done. So moving on to Stockton next. Probably the biggest lesson learned in the springtime is just be careful fishing behind the fish. So in other words, practicing last weekend, the weekend before, you know, they're moving up to the pockets, they're spawning in the pockets, but by now most of them are done and they're moving out. They don't wait long. And so I tried adapting and adjusting for that yesterday during practice. I intentionally fished offshore points, offshore humps. I fished a lot of docks, thinking maybe they'll suspend around those docks and I can catch them, you know, with a chatterbait or a wacky worm, a deeper bait around the docks there. But I only caught one fish today on a dock, and it was a decent one, a good 15-incher. But the docks didn't do much for me today either, so don't know where they went. What finally clued me in that they'd left, other than not catching them, was getting some bites on the secondary points out deeper. And so I put a little bit heavier, a 1/8 ounce head on that wacky worm to get it down a little bit, down 7, 8, 10 foot deep, and that seemed to help. I generated a few more bites doing that, and maybe I should just run that all day, or just put the Carolina rig on or a wobble head and just fish deeper. You know, probably looking back, you know, just bounce around from secondary point, main lake point, and just fish those wobble heads and Carolina rig down 10, 12, 14 foot deep. So I don't know. We'll see how the guys do. I'm sure there's folks that whacked them. I know 15, 16 pounds was leading it when I left. So glad to have what I did. Bummed about the penalty, but and the dead fish. But you know, wasn't for doing anything foolish. It just happened. So appreciate everybody watching. Gosh, it was great to hear all the feedback from folks, you know, yesterday and today that do watch the videos. That makes me feel good. There's a lot of work that goes into putting those things together, so I'm glad folks are enjoying that. And you know, I dropped the POMME de TERRE practice videos a little bit early, knowing that pattern was probably going to die out, and sure enough it did. So I don't think I hurt myself by doing that, but I hope they help you, you know, in your fishing, and give you a chance to learn from what I do right and what I do wrong, and see some patterns on these beautiful lakes we have in Missouri. So speaking of that, it's on to Stockton Lake for the next one. Oh, and I should celebrate as well. This was my 4th tournament since I won the Grand Lake tournament. That automatically qualifies me for the year-end championship in September, so yay for that. So I doubt that I stayed in the top 10 for the elite event, so I'm going to have to scramble to get back up there at Stockton and Truman coming up in June if I want a chance at that. But you know, at least, you know, I got a guaranteed championship at the year's end, so I'm excited about that. So anyway, great turnout, over 115 boats I'd say today, so Solo Pro Series is doing a great job of running a good event, getting a lot of turnout. So hope you're all having a great week, and I'll get this footage put together and get something uploaded here hopefully by the end of the week. Thanks for watching, everybody.